Okay, welcome. Chris here with the trades. Going to go over 11 swing trades that I'm looking at here for next week. In fact, what I'm going to probably call this video is slim pickings. Not much going on. In fact, of the hundreds of stocks that I look at, that I feed into my proprietary stock screener to look at strength of the particular company, and then to turn to the market to look at the charts to see where I'm going to find an entry. Of those hundreds of stocks that I'm looking at on a regular basis, I got 11, only 11 that actually fit my criteria for swing trades long. And what is that criteria? Well, that's strong companies that are on an uptrend, and I'm looking for an entry point. That's when I turn to the chart. Here we're looking at SPY, for example. I turn to the chart and I look for an entry, some price move back down into some level of support for an entry to get in on it, to get involved with that stock, and to ride the potential move up. So we're looking at SPY here right now, the market itself. You've got a number of lines laid out here. These are my buy points for the future if the stock ever, well, should I say the market ever retraces and comes back down. I'm going to be a buyer at these particular points. But as we can see, it's still looking like a super strong market here at this point. So this gap from earlier last week did get filled. Got another gap down here as well. But the first ticker on my list is going to be Microsoft. Okay, so Microsoft here, we've got a reduction in price. It's come down, it's moved down into this level here. I'm going to be looking to get involved with it here into this level of support. See if it wants to find some support down at these lower levels here. As far as risk goes, see where we open on Monday. Down into this level here, looking at 2 or 3%. I'd be a buyer down probably into these lows from back most recent, back into the 492 range. Going to be a buyer into that range. That's still only 4% or so. Microsoft has been on an uptrend. As you can see, I've taken some profit with these red lines on these pushes. Fortunately, it looks like I missed this one here from, what was that, Wednesday? Well, we'll see where it wants to go from here. I'm going to be a buyer into this level of support and looking to take profits on the way up, obviously up into this range here for the first take profit, up into these highs, and of course, greedy target into these ranges as well. Next on the list is JD, JD.com. It's been bouncing around a bit, but it does look like it's coming into what I'm looking for is a price that's coming back down to some level of support where we saw a wick and push back up. This was a buy opportunity as well back here. See if it wants to do that again. As far as risk on JD, I'm going to see where this opens on Monday, but I'm going to be a buyer into this range here, 3% or so. I'd probably give it down at this lower level, see if it wants to double bottom off of this lower wick here. And then I'm going to see if it wants to move back up from there. Take profit up into these highs, 5 or so percent. Greedy target up into these highs as well, 11 or 12%. So also on the list, ALNY. Okay, this one has been moving up significantly. It's come down, a sharp move down, found some support, and it's bouncing. I want to see if I can take advantage of the potential move back up here. So depending where we open, right, if it still gaps up and runs, I may not be interested to go chasing after it. But if it comes back down into this range, I'm going to be a buyer into this 5 or so percent, 6%, certainly off of this lower wick, and looking for the move back up into these levels here, probably up into the first 3% or so to take profit, up into these highs as well. We got some candles tops here, back here as well. Greedy target into the all-time highs, 8 or so percent. So that's ALNY. Next on the list, APA. Okay, APA been moving up. It's been bouncing off of these ranges, these levels of support that are sort of marked off in this green sort of trend on the chart. So it's down here on the stochastic, nice and low. That's what I'm looking for on all of these, for it to come down into this range here, into this green level, and bounce from there and move back up. See where we open Monday, of course, but risk wise down into this range here, nice 4 or 4.5%. I'm going to be a buyer into that range. Obviously, with the stochastic down, we see it bounce from time to time. Well, mostly every time it bounces off these lower levels, it's bounced and moved back up. So I'm going to see if we can take that play again. Obviously, it's at some point it's going to break through here and break trend and break form on this chart. But until it does, I'm going to see what we can do to maybe take some profits up into these ranges here. It's pretty deceiving. So even to move up into these ranges, 5-6%, up into these highs, 8 or 9%, all-time highs, 10 and above for 14% even. So I like that one. Also looking at Gibraltar, this is exactly what I want to see here on this. This is coming back down hard and fast into this level of support. Stochastic down super duper low, at least on the fast line it is. The other slow line still has a little range to run, but risk is pretty tight. Of course, I'm going to see where this opens on Monday. If it's in this range, I'm all over that. I'm going to be looking for the move back up into these ranges here. As you can see, it's moved, and if it wants to come back and test these highs, we're looking at 10, 15% on the take profit. Of course, if it wants to break and drop from here, that's a definite possibility. I like how it's double bottoming off this wick back here from this particular candle where I'm pointing it with my cursor and mouse. But if it wants to come back down into about this range, I'll give it about 5% or so on my risk. From there, I'd probably just want to get out. But I like this one. Definitely looking good. Also, here, looking at Bill. Okay, Bill has tested this natural level of support when the stochastic has been down on the lower end of this bar, and now it's looking like it's bounced off of this level of support and is moving back up. So I'm going to be interested in this one, see if it wants to continue here on this trend up into this range here, about 8% on the take profit, greedy target up into 10, 12%. Risk-wise, I'm going to take it down to about 4, 5%. If it wants to go below there, I'd probably just be looking to get out. All right. Also, AIZ looks like it's bounced off of this support level. I'd like to see this. It's looking like it can go either way. It could be potentially rolling over and coming back down. Yes, for sure. Or it could just continue from here and take the move back up. I'm gonna be looking to take some profits up into this range here, this first little gap, and then up into these ranges as well, 4 or 5%. So not a huge mover. Risk is still pretty tight, 3 or so percent, 4%. I'm gonna get buyer into this range, of course, and see if it wants to move, if it tests these lower levels once again. Also on the list is an obscure one for me, but this greenage generation holding, it's got a lot of movement. It moves a lot. It's a pretty inexpensive stock at $1.83. But risk, it's pretty wide. It's going to be down into this range here. So if I'm going to get involved with this, see where we open on Monday, it's going to be a slow sort of measured entry to take advantage of a potential move back down into this natural level of support. However, as you can see, the range up into these highs, 18, 20%. So the moves are big on this one. So I'm going to be interested. It's looking like it's finding some support and ranging. Look, we've got a divergence between this wick here and this, sort of making an uptrend. Well, sort of making an uptrend from in general. And the stochastic has been bouncing down this lower level and bouncing back up, and sort of also indicating that it wants to keep moving. So I'm going to be interested in this one, see where we open up. It's a little obscure, but it's got some potential. And CLSK is also what I'm interested in. Clean Spark is pushed way up. It's come back down, found some support, bounced, making some higher highs. So I'm going to see if it wants to keep moving in this overall trend. Stochastic is nice and low. It's sort of basing here while we're seeing a general uptrend on these last two candles. So I'm going to see if it wants to make a continuation. This Friday candle is green, technically green, but it's still a move down. It opened actually up here and closed down there. Technically green because it was above the close of the previous candle, but still a down day. So risk-wise, I'm going to be down into this range here again, pretty wide. So any entries I'm going to take are going to be slow and measured to take advantage of maybe coming down into this range and then bouncing back up. Of course, the range is pretty good. So if it wants to move and test these highs, 17, 18%, I'm interested in that. Obviously, greedy target up to the 30% range. Also, second to last here is VST. I do like this stock. It's been moving up super strong, finding some support again. It's been doing that over and over, finding support and moving, just tagging these lines here and holding above the overall green trend, which would indicate a bullish move. So see if it wants to continuation from here. See if it wants to keep moving. Though it does look like it wants to roll over. Right? It's sort of trending back down a little bit, but still on the chart, it's still saying to me this is a buy. So giving it a pretty tight risk down to like 4 or so percent, probably down to this lower wick down here as well, maybe 5 or so percent. Going to see where it wants to go. If it wants to bounce from here and move back up, that's what I'm looking for. If it breaks and breaks below here and stays below this range here, it's probably going to just move back down in my mind, and I probably would want to get out and not take it at all. If of course, if it gaps down below these ranges, probably not going to be interested in this. And the last one is EME. Now, this one's a little different. Technically, it is not on my sort of criteria for buy, but it's a company I like. It's run straight up, and it did take a huge move middle of the week last week. A big drop in price, finding some support. Technically broke the form of this chart and broke structure, but it did find some support back here and instantly popped back up. Got a good earnings that just came in, maybe not good enough for the market, but nevertheless, I'm interested in this. I want to see if it wants to take this move back and fill this gap. That's what I'm interested in. If it wants to come and move back down, I'm probably just going to get out, not involved. I'm looking for this to move one way and one way quick, straight up from here, starting on Monday. And if it doesn't do that, I'm probably not going to be involved. But that's a little bit different from my normal range. It did technically not correct as far as a stock on my list, but I like this one. I'm going to see what happens. It's kind of an exception and a little bit of the break of the rules, which we don't want to do, but I do like this one, and I'm going to give this one a shot and see where we open on Monday. So that's what I got for the week ahead. Slim pickings, not too many options for me on my list, but certainly doable. I don't need to be looking at any more than 10 or 12 new stocks every week anyway. Happy trading.